Hello guys, welcome to my channel. In today's video, we are going to understand each and everything about Azure DevOps within 30 minutes. So if you are a beginner and if you are just trying to learn Azure DevOps, you can watch this video to get the basic idea of Azure DevOps and work uh, and create CI/CD pipelines and manage other settings which are required for a beginner level. Or if you are looking alternative for your CI/CD pipelines, you can watch this video to gain significant knowledge so that you will be able to understand Azure DevOps and you will be able to use that. Okay, so let's begin the video. Here we are in Azure DevOps and this is the UI for the organization. This is my organization, and from here you can create the projects. If you click on new project, you will be able to create the project from here. You'll have to provide the project name. If you want to create a public project, you can select the public, and if you want to select the private, you can if you want to create the private project, you can create the private. Okay, let's now go to the organization settings. I will discuss some of the important ones which are needed. Okay, see, if you want to see and create the projects, you can always come here in the projects and you can manage it, you can rename it, you can delete it. And from here in the users, if you want to add new users, and if you have to provide permission, basic permission, test plan permission, stakeholder or vs subscriber permission, you can do it from here at your organization level. Okay, once you have added it, you can also add the users inside some of the projects which you might have to provide them permission directly from here. Okay, you don't need to go to each projects and provide the permission, you can do each and everything from here. Okay, you can also add the group rules here inside user section, so that if you have suppose some AAD groups in Azure, and if some groups are added in that particular AAD group, then using the group rule, those users will automatically get added here inside this Azure DevOps users, and they will get all the access for your organization and projects, whatever you might have configured it in this group rule. So you'll have to configure the group rule directly from users. You can manage all the buildings. Generally, if you are a beginner, you don't need to see the buildings and all. Okay, if you want to enable some of the global notifications at organization level, you can do it from here. Okay, the another important thing is extension. If you have to enable extension, or if you have to work some of the tasks like see Ansible, or suppose this is SonarQube server, Terraform, if you have to add those tasks which are provided by some third party uh, users, or maybe some official Microsoft official extensions, you can click on this browse marketplace and go to this marketplace. You can search it and install the extension based on your requirement. Okay, so suppose let me give you an example. Suppose you want to install the extension for Google Play. You want to publish your application or whatever app you have created inside the Google Play. You can always go ahead and install this Google Play extension, whatever you get it. You can directly search it here at the top, and you can even download it. So suppose this is the Google Play extensions provided by Microsoft. You can always go ahead and get it free and install it so that it will work for your project. If you have to integrate Microsoft Intra ID with your Azure DevOps, so that your uh, users in Microsoft Intra ID will be able to connect with this ADO instance, then you can add it here. Like see, this is my AD, and that is added here inside this Microsoft Intra. If you want to manage policies for organization level, then you can manage everything here. So this policy will be applicable to each of the projects which you can, or which you might create inside your organization. So this is just the organization level policies. Like you can allow public projects, you can change this permission. Okay, SSH authentication is enabled on. These are some of the settings which you can go ahead and change it. You can manage all the permissions directly from here. If you have to create or add users in the organization level group, like this is project collection administrator, and this is highest level permission inside the Azure DevOps. If you have to modify or add the users, you can always open it, and here from members you can add the members directly. Okay, you will be also able to see the users here. Whatever user, suppose you want to remove some of the users or check their permissions, you can directly check their permissions from here. Okay, so suppose this user is part of all these groups, so everything will be visible here. If you want to add permission for this particular user, you can add this from here. You can manage all the process at organization level, so that this process will be applicable for all of your project. You can change the fields from here, like whatever fields you need inside your work item boards, everything can be modified from here. Okay, the next one is agent pools. This is organization level agent pool. If you are creating the agent pool here, uh, you will be able to see those agent pools in all of the projects. Okay, you can create the agent pools here. If you have to provide permission for your agent pools, you can click on security and add the users directly here inside this AD or this agent pools. Suppose you want to provide permission for this user, you can select it and you can add the roles, like which role or what role you want to give them. You can do it from here. Okay, and if you have created the agent pool and if you want to create the agent inside that, open this agent pool and click on new agent. So if you have this new agent, you will be able to view all the agents here. Since I don't have any in this agent pool, it's showing add your first agent. You can click on new agent and it will give you the instructions how you can set up the new agent. Suppose you have one Windows virtual machine and you want to install this uh, agent inside the Windows. You can follow all of these steps. You can download this agent file, you can run these commands, and finally you will be able to run the agent as well. Once you have followed this process, your agent will be visible here. Same is the process with Mac OS and Linux. If you have Linux as OS inside your virtual machine, you can follow this process. So this way you will be able to set up the agent pools. This is setting at organization level. You can modify some of the settings, like if you want to enable these triggers, if you want to like disable built-in task, disable node 6 task, and other things as well, like limit job or authorization scope to current project for release pipeline. So these are self-explanatory. You can go and check it. Generally, if you are a beginner level, you won't have permissions to change all of these settings, and if you have, you can go and always check them. Okay, you can check, you can manage the parallel settings, like how many parallel jobs you can run and all from here inside this parallel jobs. Since this is free tier, we generally get only one job at a time to be running. Here inside the repository, you will be able to modify settings related to repository, like what should be the default branch for all the repositories inside all of the projects. Okay, so these all settings are at organization level. If you change anything here, it will be applicable to all the projects inside your organization. Okay, like this you can manage the storage for your artifact. You can increase it from here and you can check other things as well. Okay, now we have completed the organization. Let's now go to the projects. This is my one of the project, and here if you expand it, generally we get the overview about the project. You get all the details here. If you have to provide the permission and all, you can click on invite and you can provide it. You will be able to see the dashboard here. if you have configured some of the dashboards, like created dashboard for your teams or for some application, you'll be able to see all the dashboards here. Like that, if you have wiki pages, if you want to maintain the documentation, if you want to create the documentation directly in your Azure DevOps, you can go ahead in wiki and create it. Okay. And for boards, if you have if you are not using any third party tools like Jira and all, you can always use this Azure boards, where you can create all the work items, you can create the sprints. For a scrum master, you can always create the sprint, you can plan the sprint, you can manage your backlogs, and you can create all the work items and assign to your particular team members. Okay. Suppose you are a DevOps engineer or a developer or even a tester. If you have to create one bug, you can always click on new work item bug, and you can add all the settings. You can add the title, you can select the state, you can assign this, select the correct area and iteration path, provide the repro step system info, and you can save it, so that it will one bug will be created and it will be assigned to that particular person. Okay. You can you can change the iteration for to add this in particular sprint. So suppose this is sprint 2 is going on. If you are adding this inside sprint 2, this will be automatically added to your current sprint. Okay. You'll be able to see everything like sprints and all from here. And, if this is sprint 2, you'll be able to see everything here. Okay. Like this, you'll be able to see all the backlogs and all analytics and everything. So if you are a scrum master and you want to or if you are uh, I mean, if you are looking for some alternatives for these kind of project management tools, you can always select Azure boards. Okay. Now let's come to Azure repos, which is another important one inside Azure DevOps. You can directly keep your version control or keep code inside Azure repos, where these are some of the repositories. You can come here, you can browse all the repositories from here, you can create new repositories by coming here. If you click on plus new repository, it will ask you some repository name, you can provide it and you can create it, so that your repository will be created. Okay. If you want to import your repository from some external places, like if you have your repository in Bitbucket and you want to import that here, you can always click on import repository, and that will be imported here. If you need to manage the repositories, like if you have to add the settings, if you have to add the policies at repository level, you can always click on manage repositories and you can manage it. We'll see all of these in few minutes. Okay. uh, so here we are in repository. Suppose you created one repository. This is one of your repository, edu test. And if you want to work inside that, this is your main branch and your code is in main branch. You created one feature branch. Suppose this is your feature branch and you made some changes. Let me make another change, just something like this inside it, so that I can show you this. You made the change and committed it, and you can now create a pull request to merge your code inside the main branch, because this is generally the branching policy you should be following if you are working uh, for a project. Okay. You can either create a pull request directly from here, or you can click on pull request here and you can click on new pull request, select your branch, feature branch, and merge it to main branch. Into main branch, provide the title, something like this, description. You can add the reviewers, you can add the work items which are required, and you can create it, so that one pull request is created. Reviewer will go that will check here, come here in the files, it will see all the files which are added, which are changed. If he is satisfied, then he can approve or reject this pull request. If he has approved it, you can go ahead and complete this pull request, so that whatever you have made the change inside your feature branch will be merged inside in the main branch. Okay, you'll be able to see all the commits from here. You'll be able to see branches whatever you have created along with all the tags. If you have some tags inside, then you can see all the tags from here. You'll be able to see the pull request and all. If you want to add the branching policy, you can always come here in the branches. Suppose you want to add branching policy for main branch, you can click on these three more options and you can do it from here. If you want to create the new branch, you can click on new branch and create it. Let me click on it and see some of the settings which we get. If you want to delete this branch, if you want to set the branch security or branch policies, this is the important one. You can click on it and you can set the policies for your particular branch. Okay, we'll come to this later when we discuss the project settings. uh, we are done with the repositories. Now the another important thing, you can say the most important thing about Azure DevOps are pipelines. You can create the build pipelines, you can create the release pipelines as well from the pipelines tab. To do that, you can always click on new pipeline and select your code. Where is your code? If your code is in Azure repository, you can select it, Bitbucket, GitHub, or even if your code is in some different Git repository, you can select the other Git. Okay, if suppose if you are selecting your code that is a YAML based code, you will have to provide your YAML file or create your YAML file. In case you don't want to create YAML, you can also create the classic pipeline as well using this use the classic editor option, where you get the pipeline inside your Azure DevOps UI, where you can easily go ahead and add whatever task you want to add and create one pipeline in the UI. So this way, if you don't know YAML or new to YAML, you will be able to create the classic pipelines easily and you will be able to perform your task. Okay, you can add all the tasks whatever you have to edit from here. Suppose you want to build some .NET, you can add the .NET Core task from here and you can run those commands like .NET build command or restore command and create the pipelines. But now most of the companies or most of the organization now use the YAML because that is more secure and uh, YAML can be version controlled. Okay, so if you have the YAML, you can always come here as your repository, select one your repository. Either you can select one starter pipeline, you can build it from scratch, or if you have some existing YAML file, you can always click on it and select the YAML path and you can continue. So your pipeline will be created this way and now you can run your pipeline. So this way you will be able to create the YAML pipeline and build pipeline. If this pipeline is building your code by auto triggering from your code repository, like you can say this pipeline is being triggered if something is merged in main branch, this will be automatically triggered and it will just build one Ruby project. Okay, so this is build pipeline for that particular project. Same way you will be able to create the release pipeline as well using YAML to deploy your project inside some virtual machine or AKS or even web apps and function apps as well. Okay, so this is YAML. If you have to add approvals or something like that, like branch policies, branch controls, and some of the other things like service or change management, you can create the environments and you can include these environments in your YAML pipeline so that approvals and everything can be managed. You can create the approvals, you can create the branch controls, you can manage other things as well, like you can invoke REST API, you can add post check approvals, you can include ServiceNow change management. Okay, if you go to releases, you can directly click new classic release pipeline from here. If you click on release, click on new release pipeline and you can add the artifact directly, your artifact of your build pipeline directly here, and you can include this to deploy inside further stages. Like this can be your dev stage. Suppose let me add one artifact from here. Suppose let me add my source pipeline. Suppose this is my source pipeline and I added it. So whenever we try to deploy it, one latest version of this artifact will be downloaded and deployed. You can enable continuous deployment trigger from here, and these are some of the stages. Like this you can create multiple stage pipeline, multi-stage pipeline. One is for dev, one is for QA, one is for pre-production and production, like this. Okay, and you can save it so that this way your release pipeline will be created and you can deploy it to your respective environments. Okay, let's move ahead. Here in libraries you can create the variable groups or secure file. In variable groups you can store set of variables and you can use this, or you can link these variable groups in your pipeline while running the pipeline, so that you'll be able to use the variables whatever you have configured here inside your pipelines. If you have to create the task group, you can create the task groups, and you'll be able to use this task group inside your classic release pipeline. If you open it, any of the pipeline, something like this, if you edit it, and if you go to the task, you'll be able to include your task group directly here inside. You can search your task group here, create a task group, and you will be able to include everything here, so that all the tasks whatever you have grouped in this task group will be coming here. Task group are nothing but a grouping of tasks. You can group multiple tasks. Suppose to all the tasks related to deploy your function app inside web app uh, in one task group, and you can directly add that here, so that you don't need to create each and every task in all the stages every time. Okay. Something like that is deployment groups as well. Suppose you have multiple virtual machines, you can create the deployment group and you can deploy everything, all your artifact once, and in all the virtual machines. Okay. If you are a tester, if you have to test something in that, you can go to test plans, and you can create all the test plans, you can create the test suites and everything, test cases and all inside this test plan, and you can run the automation testing against those test cases. You can perform manual test cases or manual testing using this test plan. This test plan is for testers. Okay. If you have artifact and you want to store that, in that case you can create the artifact feed in Azure DevOps, and you can push your dependencies or whatever project artifact you might publish. All everything will be stored here, and you can pull those artifacts which are stored here in your release pipelines to directly download it and deploy it from here. You can also create the, or you can also include the upstream sources like Maven, or even uh, or whatever type of stream sources generally you get. You'll be able to configure everything here. Like you can configure the stream sources for Python, Cargo, Maven, npm, NuGet, everything here. Okay. If you click on settings and see the upstream sources, these are stream sources configured by default. And if you have some of the sources inside the NuGet gallery or PowerShell gallery or Maven central repository, you can directly include it here, and you'll be able to download the packages directly from this repository. Okay. If you have some external upstream source, you can always click on add stream, and you can add that here as well. Okay. Let's now come to project settings. Here you'll be able to manage all the settings related to your project. We had seen the organization setting already. That setting was related to your organization, and if you made anything or any changes in that, that will be applicable for your all the project inside the organization. But this project setting is specific to one single project. In this case, this is ADO test is my project. So this will be applicable for this project only. Okay. You can come here. You If you want to add the project administrator, you can add all the administrator here. Or if you want your team members to not use some of the services, you can disable them from here. Suppose you don't need test plan, you can disable it so that no one will be able to use this feature inside this project. Okay, if you have to delete it, of course you can delete it from here. You can create multiple teams directly from here in the teams tab. Suppose you have 5 teams: developer team, front end team, back end team, or DevOps team. You can create each team from here, and you can provide them permission based on the requirement. Suppose there is some developer team, they need permission only for the repositories. You can provide permission based on that. And if there is some DevOps team, they need permission for pipelines, repository, as well as artifact. You can go ahead and provide required permission, uh, so that the members added in that group, in this team, can directly access those things. And if there are some new members comes inside your team, you can directly add it, and they will get all the required permission. Same is the case with the users or members. If they leave, then you can remove them so that they will lose all the permissions. You can manage all the permissions here. These are some project level groups, and you can add your people directly inside these groups so that they will be able to get the required access. Okay, here you can manage all the notifications for your project. These all settings are for project. You can create the service hooks. Service hooks is nothing but kind of web hook, where if there is some alert you want to create for some external service like logic apps or service bus or some external service, then you can create the service hook from here. So that whenever, suppose I will give one example, if you are creating one work item, then this hook should get automatically trigger, and this should trigger some logic app. Then in this case scenarios, you can create the service hooks. Okay, you will be able to see the project configuration. You will be able to modify it from here. If you have to manage some of the things, like if you need to add some borders, you can add your borders directly from the boards. You can manage the team configuration from here, and you can manage agent pools. Like we had seen agent pools directly in the organization level. You can add agent pools here for your project level. So these agent pools will only be available inside your project. Like that, you can open it and you can add your agents here as well. Okay, you can manage the parallel jobs. You will be able to manage settings related to your project here. Like we have discussed, most of the settings are same as what we have seen inside the organization level. This is release retention. Here you can manage your releases, like how many days you want to retain some of the pipelines. You can create the service connections here. If you want your pipelines to connect with some external service, for that purpose generally we create the service connection. You can click new service connection and you can create it from here. Suppose you want your pipeline to deploy some of the resource in Microsoft Azure, you will have to then create Azure resource manager service connection, so that your pipeline will be able to connect to that. Okay, you can manage all the repositories from here. Okay, you can manage settings at your repository level. You can manage the branch policies at your repository level as well, and other settings. You can manage security as well at this project level, so that this security or this policy will be applicable for all the repositories whatever you have configured in here. Suppose you want to make changes for some particular repository, you can open that repository and you can manage the changes. You can manage settings for that repository. You can add branch policy for that repository. You can provide permissions directly just only for that repository. So everything can be managed from the settings, project setting, and repositories. Like that, you can manage this artifact as well, and you will be able to see everything here. So we have covered everything about Azure DevOps in brief and short. If you are a beginner, you can watch this video and understand. If you need more details of understanding each topic in detail, you can go and watch my Azure DevOps series where I have made videos about each and every service in detail. That's it from this video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe my channel. If you have any feedback, question or suggestions, please let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.